So we always want to be able to have them recorded. So again, welcome to our book reading sections 2.9 in the Habits of Health book. Our host today is Carol Kennedy. She is going to guide us through this material. And if you want to share, all you've got to do is put your little yellow hand up in the chat where the chat screens are. If you don't know how to do that, you could just take yourself off of mute and she'll know that you would like to share. I will be helping her with that behind the scenes. But I did want to take a moment this morning and share something with you. As one of the leaders of Optavia, I wanted to share a very important message with you. Let me make sure I mute everybody. Okay. So the message that I wanted to share with you this morning is that we recognize that our lead times for our food have gone 14 business days.
So much for that.
And we are definitely appreciative of your patience in that, but I want to share with you a couple of reasons why. Many people have been asking, why is that happening? There's a couple things happening. Number one, Optavia is the second fastest growing company in the world. Okay, so we are facing those challenges that are coming from a wonderful place. What that means is we are helping a ton of people get out of poor health. So that is one of our realities. We have, just so you know, our warehouse is working 24 hours a day, and we have gone to a 24/7 model to overcome these challenges. And so that we're not sitting around hoping and waiting that it's going to get better. Okay. We are absolutely taking massive all out action, including opening a second warehouse that is happening real time. The other thing is we are impacted. How many of you have gone to Starbucks and they say, oh, I'm sorry, due to COVID, we're out of that syrup. Due to this, we're out of that. So there has been a global impact in ingredient shortages. Global. This is not just affecting Optavia. This is affecting most of the large companies that are out there that supply any type of food or drink. And so we are not immune to that. We are actually going through the pandemic shortage of ingredients, and we are hanging on, and we are doing everything we can to make the obstacle the way. So I just wanted to thank you for your patience. And I wanted to welcome you to this book challenge, but I wanted to make sure you knew that we know and that we're on it. Okay. And you can bet that the leaders at Optavia are more motivated than anybody to get you your ingredients as fast as possible. So with that, I'm going to turn the call over to my lovely friend, Carol Kennedy, and she is going to guide us through some of this amazing science that will allow us to protect the results that we're creating.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Saturday to you all. So good to be here. Rachel, thanks again for the opportunity. Of course, y'all can't see, but my knees are knocking under the table again. But we're going to go ahead and do it and just dive in and go for it this morning. Please participate. Raise your hand, ask questions, or just give your input. And of course, Rachel, if I get stumped on something, I'm going to be calling on you to help me out in that area. So let's dive in. So I'm excited about this part because I've never been one who was really into exercise per se, even though when I was younger, I did have it reversed where I thought it was 80% exercise and 20% nutrition. So I had that totally reversed and backwards in my mind for a long time, thinking that I could just go walk around the block maybe 20 times to decrease the effects of that New York cheesecake that I ate more than once in a day. And we know that that's not going to work based on the previous book challenges that we've been on, especially from the previous chapter, and what Tim went over last week, as well as Dawn the week before. So we can't outrun the fork. I've learned that over the years. And the way I've learned it is that was around my midsection, even though I exercise. So who remembers what I said the last book challenge about SOAR? So why are we at these book challenges? Why are we in the book reads? Why are we in habits of health? Why are we even taking the time to do that? Does anybody remember what SOAR is? Any hands? Okay, because of time, I'm just gonna go real quick. So we are learning the sign of amazing results,
Carol,
right?
so sorry, Carol, to interrupt you. I'm not sure if there's a separate area of your home where you get a better reception, but right now you're breaking up.
Oh,
I don't know, for me, if I move around or shut off the Wi-Fi in my phone, perhaps I get a better read.
let me try that.
No problem. I want everyone to hear every word you have. So I'm fighting for it. Yeah.
All right, let me see
Much better right
here.
now. Whatever you did, it is much better right at this
Is
moment.
it much better?
It
I'll
is.
just hold it.
Okay.
I'll hold my tablet.
All right.
So is it still good? Okay. So basically what I was asking you all is who remembered the acronym or acrostic that I used before of SOAR. So we're having these book reads basically to what? Sustain our amazing results, right? We don't want to go backwards. We've worked too hard. How many said I worked too hard to go back where I came from? I'm not going back to that place, right? Plus, I didn't feel good at that place. So I know our body challenges us sometimes, and you don't have to do that. But these book reads will help us. Our coaches, the community will help us to stay on par, so that we can tell the mind. I call my mind Trixie, and whenever she starts to do stuff that or think stuff that is not good, I say, Trixie, you go take a seat. You're not fooling me today. We're going to keep on doing what we're supposed to do. So sometimes you got to name that little voice in your head and tell it to go sit down, because it's not serving us at all. Can you still hear pretty good? All right, awesome. So we left off, I'm going to try to hold with one hand and move my book around with the other one. Couple of things I did want to touch on this morning that I looked at again this week, and sometimes you have to read things several times before it clicks. So I want to say real quick, don't get discouraged as you're reading, or even on the book reads, if you read something or the speaker says something and it doesn't click. Sometimes we have to just keep reading it a couple of times for it to make sense, or we have a situation that arises that causes that memory to bring that thing back to remembrance, and then it makes sense. So I just want to encourage you, keep coming on the calls, keep reading. Dr. A says in this section on page 345, that basically the objective of the habits of motion is to stabilize our weight and basically optimize our health. And that really stuck out to me. We really want to make sure that all of this hard work that we've put in, we have sustainability, not just for now, but for the long haul. So that was one thing I definitely wanted to recap. And if we move to 345, the other thing that really stood out to me was in the margin, it talks about obesity and rigorous exercise and the dangerous combination of that. So basically, Dr. A tells us that exercise alone, which I kind of recapped a few minutes ago, is ineffective for weight loss. And if we have a lot of weight, I've lost 60 pounds and my poor little knees, you know, I tried to do a squat at 60 pounds heavier and couldn't do it. I could probably do 3 and not be out of breath. So trying to do those vigorous exercises when we have pressure on our knees is not helping us. So he talks about that in the margin. Matter of fact, he says the added stress on an already overworked cardiovascular system can have serious, even deadly consequences. So I'm so grateful for this section. The next part of that I wanted to point out today was I just highlighted the bottom of that same section in the margin on 346 to the left. And it says it begins with activities that help you maintain your healthy weight and progresses to ones that move you forward toward, optimal health. Basically, when I'm reading this, I'm getting from this is he wants us to utilize all of the basic motions that we have during the day to get our bodies into keeping fat burn along with what we're eating. Okay, so yes, we're probably going to walk. Yes, we're probably going to do squats. There's a wonderful Nourish Fit challenge going on right now with planks and walking numbers for steps for the day. So yes, we need that, but what else can we do? What else do we normally do that can help us in the process? And that's what I got from this section. It's all about utilizing what we already do to increase our energy expenditure. Sure, I think I said that right. And so if we look at 346 on the bottom of the little chart, kind of looks like an orange, where it says habits of motion. It says the one big difference between exercise and physical activity is that exercise is generally done for a short period of time, usually just a few hours a week. However, physical activity can be integrated into your daily life in a much more organic and complete manner. So the main objective is to increase our activity, to put all our waking hours to work by upping our energy expenditure. If you can do me a favor, if you haven't already, there is a sentence there that says our goal is to turn you into a perpetual motion machine. How about we put an X through the U and write me? Makes it more personal. So Dr. A's goal is to turn, and you put your name or put me into a perpetual motion machine. That gives us more accountability and it makes it more real when we put our name and ourselves in there. I learned that when I was my first year in college, and they said, if you say you, it puts it on somebody else. But if I put me or my name, it makes me more accountable, right? So that's our little challenge for today. Wherever it says you in this book, we're going to say me, I'm going to say Carol, and whatever your name is, you put it there. Okay. All right, let's flip over to 347. Any questions so far? Rachel, did you have anything you want to interject at all?
No, you're doing a beautiful job. Let's keep it moving.
Okay.
And you're connected.
All right.
Carol, occasionally it goes robotic, but it pulls right out. So I'll just kind of go like this if it's breaking up, okay?
Okay. And I'm trying to move around. I don't know what's going on with this room. All righty. So the next talks about NEAT on 347. And let me see if I can move my book over here. Y'all gonna laugh at me, but I've actually, this is my non-scale victory for today. I am actually crossing my legs with my book on my lap. That is something I couldn't do before, you all. I couldn't cross, and they wouldn't stay crossed. They would just flop open. So that's my non-scale victory for today. We're talking about basal metabolic rate, BMR. Let me see here. Before we get there, let's go to the section on the right in the corner where it talks about NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis. And it says it can have a huge effect on our total energy expenditure. And therefore, your daily caloric consumption. In fact, even this is so powerful. In fact, even minor changes in daily non-exercise physical activity can increase your TEE by So listen, all is not lost, and we shouldn't think that it's lost if we haven't done some vigorous exercise. It's telling us that those things that are just our daily things. For instance, I went to Publix last night, and before I would normally park right up on the door. I just want to get right in there. I don't have to walk far. But I'm finding myself now parking further and further away, as long as it's not raining, so that I can get my steps in. So it's just those tweaks in our normal day, not parking so close to the store. Going for, if you know, my post office, I really can walk to the post office. I've just at times been lazy and drove my car. But I've started even doing that. Just walk, take the walk to the post office, come back. Take the walk to get the mail, come back. Those are little tweaks that we can make during the day to increase our non-exercise activity. There is one thing, let's see. Okay, so at the bottom of 347, it says, as the biggest component of our metabolic pie, BMR offers us a wonderful opportunity to tap into a thermogenic energy source that burns, listen to this, you all, energy 168 hours a week. How may you ask? Well, if we increase the activity level and the size, I didn't even know you can increase the size of your organs. That was just crazy to me. Increase the size of your organs, right? The energy consumption. The two organs that can allow us to increase our energy, increase the MBR are our muscles and our brain, right? So what does that mean? How do we do that? I'm glad you asked. Let's backtrack one thing. Do you see there where it says after age 20? I'm far from that. We begin to lose muscle cells at an ever increasing rate. They're replaced with fat cells, which burn far less energy. So basically, for myself, my sisters, some of my friends, we always reflect and comment, man, I remember when we could eat so-and-so and so-and-so and nothing would happen. Or if we lived off 3 hours of sleep. I'm from New York, and back in my party girl stages, basically I could get off work, go hang out with my girlfriends, come home at 2 o'clock in the morning, be at work at 8. I can't do that now. Don't have the energy, and I shouldn't, because sleep is part of our health. So just saying that to say, no, our bodies are not the same after 20. And we shouldn't expect them to be in that area, but there's something we can do to help it along, okay? With that said, let's drop down here. I don't want to read this whole thing, but it does say that when we think of energy that is consumed, when we use our muscles, we're usually thinking of working out or performing some sort of physical activity. We'll talk about that in the next section, but right now we're talking about the energy our muscles use, even when you're lying in bed in the morning, dreaming about sleeping in. I'm not gonna, it's 12:20, so I'm watching the time. I want you all to read that part about, I believe you pronounce it mitochondria? How do you pronounce that, Rachel?
Mitochondria.
Thank you. Mitochondria. And what they do is they work hard taking the nutrients we consume and converting them into energy to power the machinery of our cells. Okay. In this case, our muscle cells. So it's influenced by the type of work the muscles are performing. So just think about this. Here's our bodies. And our bodies are full. It's kind of my little Christmas balls from Christmas, right? If we're not putting any nutrients in, or not increasing our movement, guess what happens when we eat? Who wants to tell me what happens? I think it's gonna go something like this. I hope I didn't break up. Whoop. But what I just did, I'm adding. I just added another ball until eventually this just keeps filling up. We don't have our 20-year-old bodies anymore. So now instead of losing, and let me backtrack, because we don't have our 20-year-old bodies anymore, we have more now fat cells than we do muscles. Fat cells store. So this little thing, if we're not doing anything to combat it, it's just going to keep filling up. Hence our middles, our backs. I like to call in the day my back with the little rolls, the busted biscuits. I think y'all heard me say that before, because they look like the Pillsbury Doughboy rolls container. And that was because I was just storing instead of burning. Okay, as we build muscle, as we become fat burners, then this starts emptying out. Yes, I know I'm dropping them all on the floor so y'all can see, right? And this starts emptying out. So if nothing else we took away today, and I'm going to read one more thing, is activity, physical activity is going to be key in helping us to safeguard what we're doing, not strenuous. Doesn't have to be rigorous, right? It's going to help us to sustain what we're doing, and it's going to help us in optimization when we get to that point. I like the fact that on this same page, on 348, and for me being 53, I wanted to shout when I read this part, because we've always been told we have to succumb to certain things because of our age, and that's not true. The body may react a certain way, but there's also always something that we can put in place to reverse it. Does that make sense? So on this same page, 348, there is 6 paragraph down. It says that's why the loss of muscle mass and muscle strength, known as sarcopenia of aging, is linked to pre-obesity and obesity, pre-obesity and obesity, and contributes to a decrease in both BMR and PAL. Having weak, flabby muscles also play a large part in our downward spiral to non-sickness and disease. The good news is that this muscle deterioration is reversible. That's good news, you all. We don't have to keep going down that spiral. We can reverse it, and we can reverse it basically by motion, by eating the right foods and protecting our muscle mass, which these fuelings definitely do protect our muscle mass. We don't have to lose our strength. We don't have to. So all of the chatter, oh, I just have to accept where I am. No, reading this book opened my eyes like, wow, I can still have vitality and still live a good and healthy life and do some things that I always wanted to do because it can be reversed. So Rachel, it's 12:25. Any questions? Do you have anything you want to add?
Goodness, so yes, I was just typing in the chat, and that was just so good. I do want to leave a minute for anybody that wants to chime in. But what I was going to say is that many of you, when we did your health assessments, many of you were missing protein. Many of you your macro footprint was off. It was not in support of lean muscle mass development. There were a lot of faulty concepts that you came in with, and that's what me too, right? I was trying to outwork that bad diet. So I'm so excited that many of you are now being empowered to learn how your bodies work. And I love that it says the old school said that we could get by maintaining our health on a treadmill for 30 minutes a day and then be motionless for the other 23 and a half hours of our day. And so what I think you're going to see here is that we've invited you into a space where you're going to practice things that you can do forever. They're not trendy, they're not exciting, they're not shiny, they're not fad, they're not on the latest trend. These are time-tested principles. And one of the things that I often will write about is, you know, people are bored with fundamentals, right? We want something shiny and new and trendy. Well, the lifelong habits in here are going to be the very thing that protect you for the long haul. So with that, I see a hand up. I think, Laura, did you have your hand up? And then Carol Brown. I want to save a minute or so for interaction. And then we have a prize winner that I need to announce before we wrap up. Laura, if that was a mistake, no problem. Carol Brown, I see your hand up.
Oops. Can you hear me? Awesome. Calling from Texas. Yay. But I love, love, love the fact that, and this is why I coach, that I can actually tell people that you can reverse the curses. Optavia helps me to reverse the fact that diabetes don't have me. I'm not going to be dying and leaving limbs behind, you know? And that's what I love, the fact that getting older doesn't mean you have to get sicker or you have to get sick. And so thank you for that. And knowing that we can reverse and we can help to build our muscles as we age. So awesome job. Thank you, Ms. Kennedy, Coach Kennedy.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Yes, we can. We have so much more power than we believe. But if you're anything like me, sometimes I like to give up my power because I was prone to making excuses. So just being above the line, I would rather use an excuse than take radical responsibility and say, okay, I do have a genetic predisposition to this, but that's not the way it's going to end up, because I have a lot of things I can do. And I think when you step in this program, you start taking radical responsibility for your health. And that's what makes it really uncommon. Anybody else want to share before we wrap up our call? Anything that is standing out to you or that you've struggled with that may encourage somebody? By all means, please feel free to share. No? All right. Well, we have our $100 winner, and I hope that I'm going to say this correctly. It's Deloise Moore. So I don't know if I said that right. Anyway, you won $100 wellness credit. And okay, she's here, guys. Can you hear? Yay.
Wait, let me get out of my car and do my dance. I had to sit here in my car. I'm calling from Atlanta, Georgia.
Yay.
It was awesome.
All right.
Well,
thank you for being an amazing part of our community. Thank you for pursuing more with us and being on these calls. So we will put $100, I will be putting $100 wellness credit, my husband and I, Tim, on your account. And that way on your next order, it comes right off the top and you are literally paying yourself to get healthy. So we appreciate all of you. And thank you for being a part of this book challenge. Invite a friend. How many people have faulty concepts out there, guys, where they just don't know what they don't know, like we didn't. And now we're getting all this empowerment. So don't leave anybody out. If you've got people in your life that are wanting health, invite them to one of our book challenges and let them see, like, maybe there is more that I could be doing. So have a blessed day, everyone, and we will talk to you next week.